a few more folks start logging on here. We'll give them just a minute and we'll do some housekeeping in the meantime. So once a month, we're going to have an ACO Educational Series for everyone in the ACOs. We will also have individual one-on-one meetings for each office. So the reason why we do this is we throw the information out to you at a macro level, high level. And then we start deep diving into these component pieces during our individual meetings. We give you this opportunity also as food for thought on what to prepare for the meetings, our individual meetings. Now, unfortunately, everyone's busy, or should I say, fortunately, because we all have good jobs, that means if we're busy. We're all busy. Sometimes you're not going to be able to make the webinar. We do record this. This webinar is being recorded right now. We also send the slides out or have the slides in the webinar series. So if you want a copy of today's slides, they are in the handout under the Go to Webinar dialog box. If you go to handouts, click that open, you'll see a PDF attachment, ACO Educational Series Feb 8, 2018 V2, that means version 2, which means I didn't like version 1, I had to do it again. So this is version 2, this is the updated version. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk today about steps to success in the ACO. Melissa, give me a hand wave if my slides are not moving forward. Are they moving forward? Are they moving forward? They are not. One moment. No? They're going, okay. So Melissa, keep an eye on this, please, as we advance. Give me a, you're going to have to do more than a head nod. Give me an arm raise. Get my attention. Sometimes I get overly focused. So here's our agenda today. We're going to talk about ACO and MACRA. Everybody is still, you know, there's a lot of people that are still confused about ACO, MACRA, all the new legislation. So we'll give that a quick overview. We're also going to talk about care coordination and controlling costs, because that's part of what we do as an ACO. We try to save the Medicare system. That's why Medicare has this program available to us. We're going to talk about quality rollout, because that is a big part of ACO and MACRA success. We're going to take a peek at the portal. Data is coming in for 2018 as we speak. 2017 portal is still open if you were a 2017 ACO provider. It is open and we're still doing G-Pro. We're going to real quick look at a timeline there. And we're going to make sure you know what we have up on the agenda for your monthly meeting. Now, we understand that some of the providers have been in the ACO for a number of years and they know what they're doing already. So the monthly meetings that we set up with you may only last 10 or 15 minutes. We might not even have anything to discuss. Maybe you've got everything down pat. What we do ask, though, is that if you need anything, you reach out to us. Otherwise, for new adopters, we will be walking you through all the process step by step, because there's a lot of information. First year is always a little exciting. So let's get on with this. So the first thing that we are going to look at is our quality portal for 2017. On February 28th at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, we're locking the portal for 2017 G-Pro. Now, if you're doing MACRA, don't let this confuse you. MACRA is going to close once again at the end of this week. But for G-Pro, ACO people, quality members for ACO, February 28th, we've got a little more time. Hopefully you are meeting with Melissa or myself over the next couple weeks to stratify your populations, make sure we're doing a deep dive, getting the best outcomes possible. If you still need to set up a meeting to review your data, please make sure we do that. Feel free to reach out to Melissa or myself. If you've been in the ACO for a while and you know what you're doing, you don't need to talk to us, that's okay. Just say, we got it under control, Teresa. And if I see a red spot or something, I'll reach out to you and say, maybe we need to discuss a thing or two. So here we go. Let's talk about MACRA and ACO truth. There's so much misinformation out there about MACRA and the ACO. Here's what we're seeing. 80% of all providers do not have a MACRA strategy yet. Wow. That probably means in 2017 they failed. Now, we are part of the 20%. We're the overachievers of the crowd. The reason why we're overachievers is because we work with our ACO. By working with our ACO, we have a strategy for success. We will map out the strategy for success. They will map out a strategy for success. I tell you what, I just had somebody mention that they can't see the screen. Hold on here. Tell her to try somebody else's login. Okay, sorry about that. The 20%, we're in the top 20%. We do have a strategy. Our strategy, we map out and we lay out right up front for you. And that strategy initially is learning the portal, our ACO portal, and being able to manipulate it to extract data that's going to be significant for you to save costs. And quality. Quality, quality, quality. Quality is 50% of all of MACRA for you this year. We will succeed in quality. So we do have a track to run on. So you're part of the 20. 47% of all doctors out there, all providers, have no idea what track they're on in MACRA. I will tell you. You are on a MIPS APM track, which means you must do quality. Cost is significant to you. IA and ACI are also in your wheelhouse, but will be made by care coordination and participation in the ACO, and we'll dig a little bit deeper. So if somebody asks you, oh, do you know what's going on with MACRA? Your answer is yes. I am in a AP advanced payment model MIPS program because the ACO is it's a blended of the two. So this is pretty cool. ACOs and MACRA, they're here to stay. What do I mean by that? So we heard all of the legislation, arm wrestling. Oh my goodness, is Obamacare going to go? Is Obamacare going to stay? The fights in Congress. The one thing that they did not fight about was MACRA. MACRA is part of the Affordable Care Act. Why didn't they fight about MACRA, and why did they decide to leave MACRA alone and not amend or appeal it? Because they need to save the Medicare system. MACRA is here to stay, that means. And MACRA are the new rules of Medicare and healthcare overall. So what we're doing today is significant. It's not going to go away. Because the White House changed over, we got a new president, he didn't redline this. We're still in MACRA. We will stay in MACRA because the system has to be changed. All right, small providers, should they opt out? If you're in an ACO, you cannot opt out of quality. And here's why you wouldn't even want to if you're a small provider. Under MACRA, for 2018, you will have 5% more revenue than anyone else that does not do ACO or MACRA. 5% more revenue right off the top that will be paid directly to your office. 5%. How hard is it for you to swing 5%? It probably is going to be more, but we don't know what the pool is going to have because we are exceptional performers. All the ACO participants over the years are exceptional performers that are with our ACOs. So small providers should not opt out because 5% margin is too hard for them to pick up. Don't opt out. We have a path for you. Okay, ACOs assist providers with macro, but you still need to file an attestation unless you've talked to us. So even for 17, if your EMR has not filed an attestation for macro, you must do that. We've got the quality covered, but you still have to have the attestation. If you do not know what I'm talking about, call me after this webinar, text me, email me. We'll make sure that you're taken care of. So ACO and macro, the elements. ACO elements and macro's elements completely overlap. For the ACO, we must succeed in quality, improvement care activities, advancing care information, and cost. These are the key components of the ACO. These are also the key components and elemental components of macro. So it's almost a 2-for-1 there, isn't it? You succeed with one, you succeed in the other. Anybody that's been with the ACO for more than a year knows we will succeed with quality. We work really hard. Why? Because 50% of your payment for macro is quality. Right off the bat. We don't mess around. Improvement activities in advancing care information, care coordination. If you're with our ACO, you are encouraged strongly. We help you provide care coordination. It is integral into your success. And then we have cost. We have the data. We work with your cost. Cost does not mean the doctor's office giving less services. No. Cost means the doctor's office providing enough service at the right time or directing the patient to the right location to receive their service to save Medicare costs. So we'll get into that. So all these categories, they overlap. Very important for you to understand that, because how do we meet our goals? Care coordination's on the bottom here, folks. Through care coordination, we meet our quality and we bend the cost curve. It all hinges on care coordination. Care coordination, did you know that that was part of the macro legislation built in there? That's part of the lifeboat Medicare's sending you for additional revenue. Your care coordinators should know your quality measures back and forth and be able to meet every single one of your quality measures, making sure they're met. If your quality measures are not being met by your care coordinators, they need to be retrained. They just don't know. That tells me they don't know, because every care coordinator that I know wants to help their patients. Through helping their patients, increasing their quality of care, we can't help it. We're bending that cost curve. So all of a sudden, hopefully you're seeing how everything dovetails together. Improvement activities and advancing care information. Those are the two middle pieces. I'm going to back up here. Two middle pieces of macro and the ACO. Because we're in the ACO, improvement activities, we're already given 100% on. You can't beat 100%. I don't care who you are. You don't get extra credit. You can't get 104%. So we won. We got 100%. We're beating everybody else out there. Why is that significant? Well, we don't want to do it just for, gosh, I'm great. I did 100%. Well, that's great. Go ahead and puff your chest up. But with the ACO, we're given that. Your neighbor, your fellow physicians who are out there that are not in ACO will not receive 100% on the ACI, or at least it's hard. They have to do more. But it's part of what we do. Improvement activities, advancing care coordination, care information, it's all part of care coordination and EMR services. Our care coordinators help you meet advancing care and improvement care activities. So what we're going to be working on with the care coordinators in the offices is, what is your care coordination plan? You know what the macro plan is. You're working with the ACO. That's your plan of action. Take a bite-sized piece and start chewing it down, and we're going to start chewing on the quality today. But what's your care coordination plan? Is it gaps in care? Is it targeting disease process, high-cost patients, or high cost risk score patients? We'll teach you all of what that means and how to handle it. And we devise, during our meeting, we'll devise a way of looking at this, our populations, and understanding them well enough that we can actually bend the cost curve. You see why care coordination is the bottom line, is the building, the cornerstone of the ACO. This is why. So we're going to take a quick peek at the portal. 2017, folks, you probably have already seen this, but I'm going to remind you because some people aren't utilizing it enough. So when you log into the ACO portal, in the 2018, folks, this will be new to you, and the information is being delivered as we speak. So every day we're seeing more information and more pieces to the portal opening as we get downloads from Medicare. So we're still receiving downloads from Medicare for 2018 data. So I'm going to show you right now what is available in the 2018 data. So when you log in, you get this dashboard. Ultimately, this dashboard below will be populated with your physicians, NPIs, and patient population. From here, we will be able to identify and stratify a risk population, patients that are high risk. And we'll show you what that means and help you develop a game plan for that. But within the portal, right across the top in the black bar, if you go to Fit Analysis and Quick Reports Legacy and run that, click that and run the report, it'll show you all the reports that are available to you for your practice or for your region. Within these reports, there's a search bar and there's 159 different reports. Okay, it's a lot of reports. If you're an egghead like I am and you like numbers, you're going to have more data than you could ever hope to see. Let me refresh real quick. Well done, Melissa said we're having a little technical difficulty. Is it there yet? Anything? Sorry about that. Yeah, there's always a technical difficulty from current slide. Here we go. So Fit Analysis, Quick Reports. We're going to look at our reports. 159 reports here. In the search bar, you can type in a name or a number. And for this purposes, we're going to type in well visits because we're going to start targeting our wellness visits, patients that have them and patients that do not. The data is starting to be loaded into your portals right now. So our care coordinators, if you're working with our care coordinators, we will start to pull reports for you and show you who's had a wellness visit and who has not. For those who have not, we ask you, let's have a wellness visit for them. The reason why we do wellness visits is to collect all the quality data up front right now. So we start to hammer home the quality. The easiest way that we have seen to make the quality measures all at once is through an annual wellness visit. If you don't have an annual wellness visit built into your EMR, we've got one in the portal that tells you what to do. Gives you all the fields that must be completed in order to make the quality measures. So what's happening is we call a patient in for a wellness visit. We run this report, and these are patients that have not had a wellness visit. So Dr. Joe Crabshack, we have Virginia Doe, has not had an annual wellness visit. You can see in column T as in Tom that the wellness visit is incomplete. We also see that the CCM if they're eligible or not to CCM. It says Virginia is not. So she may not have 2 or more chronic conditions, or maybe we don't have data on her yet. We might not have data on her. So if you know, if this is your practice, and you know that Virginia Doe has 2 or more chronic conditions, maybe Medicare doesn't realize it because you have not reported it. I was reviewing some data from a nursing home last night, and it wasn't from one of our providers, it was actually from a nursing home RUG. In the nursing home RUG, the reason why that the patient was in the nursing home was for high blood pressure. That was the only diagnosis on there. What? Seriously? Sometimes the diagnoses are not reported. We will teach you how to report proper diagnoses. This is significant to us because if Medicare thinks that your practice is seeing a bunch of healthy people, but you have high spending, they're going to ask you at some point, and this is part of MACRA, why are you spending all this money? Why do your patients who are so healthy, they only have high blood pressure, spending $18,000 a year on healthcare services? Medicare starts to scratch their head. But if you tell Medicare by your diagnoses, well, my patient has high blood pressure, they also have diabetes with macular degeneration, and they are in kidney failure. Medicare looks at that and says, oh, yeah, that patient's going to cost a lot. We understand why your patient's spending that much money. So these are the things that Medicare is looking at for cost. I'm trying to connect these dots. So let's get back to these wellness visits. Doesn't matter where your patient resides. If they're coming to your office, you can do an annual wellness visit. If they're in a nursing home, you can do an annual wellness visit. Doesn't matter what their residential status is. You can still do an annual wellness visit. Medicare encourages annual wellness visits. We know Medicare encourages something when they are throwing money at it. An annual wellness visit, Medicare waives the copay or deductible, depending upon if you're Part A or B, right? There is no copay or deductible associated with the annual wellness visit. That shows that Medicare is encouraging people to do these. Medicare annual wellness visits, all they are is a risk assessment. You're doing your quality, you're doing the risk assessment, you're finding out what's wrong with the patient up front, and so that you can make sure that the patient gets any type of treatments needed. Annual wellness visits are important. It's a way to get paid for doing your quality. Medicare's sending you a lifeboat here. You get paid well on an annual wellness visit, better than a level 3 visit in an office. If you're a rural health clinic, though, of course, you get one fee, but still, co-insurance and deductible don't apply. You get 100% of it. So it's bonus, it's win-win. All right, quality measures. We're going to hit on the quality measures. Every single meeting, we're going to talk about a quality measure. We know we have set quality measures. We know we have 15 quality measures. Oh, when I did MACRA, I only needed 6. I'm going to show you why ACOs get paid more, because we do more. Medicare right now is saying if you do more, if you do extra, if you do quality, if you do ACI, IA and cost, we'll give you more money. Why do they give us more money? We do more. Because quality is important to an ACO. Quality is important to bending the cost curve. Medicare is moving to value-based medicine. It's the way of the world right now. Value-based medicine is quality. You are paid for quality. You are paid 5%. The ACO helps get you there, but you're paid it, not the ACO, your office. Medicare, ACO will help you get there, but you still have to do it. But look at these. Medication reconciliation, falls, diabetes, controlling high blood pressure, ischemic vascular, depression, colorectal screen, vaccines. Is any of this rocket science in medicine? This is medicine 101. I don't care what kind of office you run. You should be doing these already. Most providers are. Maybe they've left off one. Maybe they don't do it. If we will give you a process and show you how to integrate this. We're showing you right now. We're going to give you a list of all your patients who have not had an annual wellness visit, and either your care coordinators are going to call them in or you're going to call them in for an annual wellness visit. You're going to receive more revenue for that. If you have a care coordinator, when they onboard to care coordination, you're going to receive additional revenue for that. Medicare's giving you a lifeboat. You better jump in. That lifeboat is revenue. Medicare knows you can't bend any curve without having some type of incentive. Here's your incentive. First thing we're going to look at, once again, we've already talked about this twice now, back to back, influenza and pneumonia. The season is here and it's full blown. I can promise you, everyone in the United States right now knows that there is an almost epidemic proportion, a flu breakout. If they have not had a flu vaccine, they will not be offended by asking them. By you asking them to come in for a flu vaccine. They know you care. Everyone who has not had a flu vaccine from last year, August, to this year, March 31st, will not be successful for the 2018 quality measure of flu. So let's talk about that a little bit further. The 2018 quality measure runs from the previous year, so it goes back to 2017. So it goes back to 2017. Well, why are they looking at 2017 data for a flu vaccine for 2018 quality? Because now is the time that the flu is happening. So most people receive a flu vaccine prior to hopefully the flu breakout. So the vaccine must be given right now if it has not. You have until March 31st. The flu vaccine must be given in this time frame. Now, if the patient refuses a flu vaccine, that is a pay-for-performance answer. Notate it in your EMR record. I read, and this is straight from one of our offices, doctor's offices. He wrote this, the physician wrote this. Patient refused flu vaccine and gave the date. And then he put in quotation. I have never gotten the flu vaccine, and by God, I never will. Well, that's a pretty good refusal. That actually got pulled for audit, and it did pass. So that's kind of neat. But you can refuse the flu vaccine. What you cannot refuse is the pneumonia. So pneumonia, though, is a little bit easier measure to meet. It doesn't have so much of a time frame. Matter of fact, if a patient received a pneumonia vaccine any time within their lifetime, it counts. All they have to do is they have to be able to recall when and where. So let me give you an example. Pneumonia, 1982, VA hospital, Baton Rouge, 1982, spring of 1982. Well, Mr. Jones, I know it was the spring. Let's see what was going on, what happens in the spring. Oh, well, that was a month before I got married. Great. So we know it was in April because you got married in May. April 1982, Baton Rouge, VA. Has to be documented similarly. You have to be able to say where. You do not need a medical record from the VA. Medicare got smart. They know you're not going to get anything out of the VA. You're not going to get a medical record, at least not for a flu vaccine. for our pneumonia vaccine. So they allow a verbal on the pneumonia vaccine to stand. The patient's word is good enough. I hate to say it, the patient's word's not good enough for the flu vaccine. We have to have evidence of it. What is evidence? Within our portal, we will see when and where a patient received a vaccine as long as Medicare paid for it. So if a patient got a flu or pneumonia vaccine at Walgreens, I can promise you Walgreens billed for it, and we'll see it, and that will be counted. We can count that. Now, as we receive data, we'll show you how to view that, and we will actually default that answer to a positive answer in the ACO portal. So we will automatically default that for you. So real quick recap. Flu, they can say no, but you have to document it. Otherwise, they need a jab right now if they haven't received one. Pneumonia, they cannot say no, but you have to document when and where they had it. Okay, so hopefully that helps clear up that. Now, if you have any questions regarding that, though, again, we'd be happy to review that for you. We're going to go on to one more today. We're going to go in medication reconciliation. I do not want medication reconciliation to be confused in your minds with just doing a normal medication reconciliation in your EMR. Every patient gets one, right? This is post-discharge. When a patient has been in a hospital or an institution, could be a SNF, and is released to home, has the physician gotten the records from that institution, the hospital or the nursing home, and done a medication reconciliation? Has it been done within 30 days? It must. Now, here's the process that we use. Hold on here. We having problems, Melissa? Okay, so medication reconciliation. Our care coordinators and our front desk people, every time a patient calls or every time they call a patient, the first question they should ask is, have you been discharged from a hospital? If so, an appointment needs to be scheduled immediately with the physician to do the medication reconciliation from the hospital's medication to the doctors, to what you have in your records. The care coordinators need to go out there and get those medical records for you. The patient may or may not remember to bring them. It's very important to have those medications to reconcile. Why? True life example with my father. He's discharged from the hospital. He was on atenolol and lisinopril. When he gets home, he can't figure out why he's lightheaded and dizzy and falling. They did not tell him to discharge the atenolol he was taking at home. Well, he's smart enough to know if it's called the same medicine, it does the same thing. Well, atenolol and lisinopril are both can be used for high blood pressure, but they're not necessarily the same medication, but they can have similar effects, right? Blood pressure. So why is he dizzy? Well, it's because those medicines, actually he was duplicating it and didn't realize it, that they were being used for the same thing. Happens all the time. He could have had a fall because he's lightheaded, his blood pressure is bottoming out, he feels terrible, he doesn't know why. Why the hospital should be feeling good. True story. Medication reconciliation. Number one reason for readmit. Wow. Medication reconciliation. You need to do medication reconciliation, right? Okay, gathering reporting. Number one, is your monthly meeting set? If you don't have it set, please reach out to us and we will schedule it. Here's what we're going to talk about in your monthly meeting. Education, quality education. Who do you want us to train? Do you want us to train you and you train your people? Do you want us to set up a meeting with just your people? We've already had one webinar on it. The link is in this slide, so you should be able to get to that. Also, if you do not have a copy of the webinar, Melissa will be happy to send you out the PowerPoint. We're going to discuss your EMRs. how to do extractions for quality, because you have to have the quality listed in your EMR, but we need to pull it out of there and get it to Medicare. How are we going to do that? Sounds daunting. Up front, it takes a little work, but once we have a process, it flows. We're going to also set your EMR up with all the ACO quality measures. We're going to make sure all the boxes are clicked so that when a patient comes in, it should pop up and say, hey, we haven't met this measure yet. So we'll go through each individual quality measure with you, making sure you understand them and they're activated in your EMR. So that's the goals for this month. Let's see if we have any questions. Tara, I can see had a question, but I don't understand. It says, Tara asked, can an annual wellness be completed in a SNF if a patient is a med bed? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Tara. Just give me a call or text me offline and we'll go ahead and do that. Let me pop up my questions here. Okay. Great question, Jeanette. Can a patient refuse a pneumonia vaccine? We can't forcibly give a pneumonia vaccine. No, you can't pin them down, but I wish you could. Patient can refuse anything they want. Unfortunately, Medicare looks at a refusal as you're not doing your job. Here's what we do for patients when they refuse. We see this a lot for colorectal and breast cancer screens. We stick our care coordinators on them. Our care coordinators get very close to the patient. Your care coordinators should be very close to the patient. The patients will do things for care coordinators and physicians or clinicians that they won't do for themselves. One of my care coordinators, who is one of the best I've ever seen, literally used these lines, and I've told this story before. Mrs. Jones, I'm going to get in trouble with Medicare if you do not do this. If you do not go get a mammogram, Medicare is going to think I'm not doing my job and I will get in trouble. Well, I can tell you, they do not want their care coordinator to get in trouble by Medicare or the physician because they love their care coordinators. Sometimes the care coordinator is the only person that patient talks to that week. They become an integral part of that patient's life. If you're having problems, if patients are resistant, an excuse to Medicare of, well, patient's just not compliant is no longer an excuse. They are paying you extra money for a care coordinator to get that patient to be compliant. Interesting, isn't it? It's a whole new world. Okay, so annual wellness visits can be done in a skilled setting, yes, but chronic care management cannot. So if a patient is a resident in a nursing home and they're on an unskilled bed, which means, and this is probably down the weeds for a lot of people, but if Medicare is not being billed Part A, then yeah, you can do the chronic care management. For annual wellness visit, you can do an annual wellness visit anytime because the physician still sees them. Okay, here's a great one. If a patient is discharged from the hospital and within a week the patient is readmitted to the hospital, the patient had not yet been seen by the physicians, medication reconciliation, when should that be done, basically? So you have two admits. Patient's in the hospital, comes out, doesn't have a chance to get to the doctor's office for the medication reconciliation, goes back to the hospital, gets discharged again from the hospital the next week, let's say, and then comes into the physician's office. So that in the third week, the patient, we finally get them to the physician's office. That counts for the two. That counts for the two. So it would meet that criteria. Really good question. All right, we are over time. I apologize. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. We are here for you. That's the reason why we do what we do. We are your support. We actually like talking to our providers. We actually like working with you. I actually like my job. Let me do it. You are my job. Call me, text me, email me. I'm fairly responsive. If I cannot be, my right hand, Melissa, will be for me. When I'm on webinars or traveling, it's the only time it's very difficult to reach me. So, but Melissa and I work together. We also have an entire technology support team for our portals. We're here to serve you. And congratulations, 2018 is off to a bang. Let's get going.